Welcome back, everybody. This is round 3 of the Last Chance Qualifier, an 8-game tournament hosted the day before the World Scrabble Championship to grant players additional spots for the tournament. The top 6 finishers in this 26-player field will make it to that event. And both of these players, Victor Amartey of Ghana and Puneet Sharma of the United States, looking to cement their spot. A victory here would be key in helping them do that. I'm joined today by Chris Lipe, chair of WESPA. Chris, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We appreciate it, and good luck in the tournament tomorrow. I'm sure that's a high priority for you right now. So Victor to go first in this game. Victor's somebody whose game I'm wholly unfamiliar with. And Chris, have you seen any play from Victor before?
I've not. Yeah, I've played a couple players from Ghana before, but I haven't come across Victor.
All right, yeah, me neither. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of play style he has and what kind of word knowledge he can show off. And Puneet, definitely a strong player in his own merit. I believe around 17 or 1800 rated from the United States, and a player who's certainly beaten me over the board before, as well as gone out and had some good times with me in after-hours play. So good luck to both the players, and have fun to all the viewers at home. Victor underway. BETU. FE and another E. So not the best opening rack here for Victor. Perhaps choices like beef to get rid of 2 of the E's, or its anagram Phoebe, perhaps keeping things a little tighter, FEU, something he wants to think about here as well. Chris, do you have a favorite play out of this rack? Sounds like maybe we lost Chris for a minute. I'll check in on what's going on, but I'll carry the commentary in the meantime. Victor going to play tube here, trying to get rid of a vowel, or 2 of the vowels, including that U, and now debating over where he wants to place this word and which one he wants to play. Looks like he's switching to the anagram, Butte, B-U-T-E, which does take an S, and S also an O as a back hook. So that may come up soon. And a Butte for 12 points coming down now. Puneet with 3 I's on his first rack. A-E-I-I-I-N-T. He was probably looking for a T floating for initiate, and he's found one. Puneet already setting up the word on his rack. And I believe now just going to be a matter of deciding which placement to put initiate in. A-E-I-I-I-N-T. Don't expect to bingo with that rack too often. He expects to exchange or play Inia, but instead Puneet going to score 61, bailed out by exactly the right tile. And I bet now Victor wishing he'd played beef instead, as the floating T proven to be a killer for him. A-E-E-F-G-S-T on Victor's rack, and that FG combo not super good together, but there is an awesome bingo available to him. 82 pointer if he's able to see it. Pause the video now if you don't want me to spoil it, but that bingo is Fanteegs, F-A-N-T-E-E-G-S for 72. It looks like he's playing gate fees instead. This is not a valid word. And with a 5-point challenge available, I imagine Puneet's going to challenge this one. Phonies do not often stay on the board. We'll see if Victor draws his tiles. It looks like he has been placed on hold, not reaching for the tile bag. And we'll have a stare down as Puneet thinks about this play. No. Are these courtesy tiles, or has Puneet accepted? It looks like he's accepted. Very interesting. Okay, so Victor perhaps sneaking one by on Puneet. Gate fees comes down. Interesting. Or no. Maybe they did challenge. Victor grabbed those tiles early. Maybe Puneet gave him early access to those provisional tiles. I'm not sure. This does give back huge counterplays, FOHN, FOLX, so I thought perhaps Puneet would let it stay for that. But anytime I can stick my opponent with a rack like AEEFG something, yeah, I'd like to do that. So Puneet is going to challenge. This is going to come off the board. Sorry for the feint there. Trying to see what the talk is about here, as what's going on. Is it perhaps that Victor's drawn his tiles too quickly and this play can't be challenged off? I do not know what's happening. Let's see if we can cut to overhead mic and work on this director call.
So I held the play, and he drew one tile. I challenged it off. Do I get to see that tile?
Before it goes back in the back, yeah.
Okay.
Do I also need to see?
Yes, you do.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so that was a dilemma. Because that tile had been drawn, does Puneet get to see it? Uh-oh, Victor's picked up one too many tiles. I hope he realizes and puts that E back on the board. Yes, there it goes. Okay, and Puneet now, FHLNOX blank. We'll see how he chooses to cash in on these. Very happy to see that blank on his rack after bingoing on the first turn, and he's going to crush this spot. FLOX, 87 points, and gets to retain a blank after getting a free turn. So very quickly, this game taking a huge swing in Puneet's favor. This also knocking out the valid bingo of Fantigues for Victor. So this could not have been a worse start, a devastating beginning to this game for Victor. Though he does make a nice play here. FEE is going to keep the nice and flexible AEGST. And that's a good way. A good pull here could give Victor some life yet. Puneet with his leave, HN blank, doing his tracking as fee came down very quickly. And we'll see if he pulls a bingo here or if perhaps he ends up in trouble with some consonants. HN blank plus A, S, U, and Y. So that's an interesting pull. It looked quite promising until that Y comes down at the end, and yet still going to be able to bingo. He's got some tough ones to spot though. HAUYNES is what he's arranged on his rack. That was played, I believe, on stream earlier this week in the SPC, and he's putting it down here, but he has higher scoring bingos. Unhasty would be the big one, making BY. However, Unhasty strings a U in a double or triple line, not something you want to do with the big advantage he's had. This word also has a very cool second 7 available, so Howines and Unhasty, but also a bingo with a blank G in Gunyas, GUNYAHS. Anyway, when you got a bingo this good and it does what you want to the board, you waste no time, you put it down, and it's not going to be challenged as Victor pulling the Q on his fish, but will be bailed out by that U, Quag coming down. And with that Q being played, Unhasty for 82 or 81 points would have been a killer for Puneet. He would have given a huge play back. So AEST, a great leave for Victor. And let's see if he pulls a bingo this time or if he ends up with more muck on his rack. 69 to 227 the score now as Puneet leads this game commandingly and has drawn an S, which is going to be key to unlocking parts of this board or perhaps blocking down quadrants of this board with the lead he has. GLLLOR goes into that S pull, and I expect to see him cash in that S in the Quag spot and make a word ending in S to avoid opening any new lanes. A word like LOLLS. Don't get to play that one too often, but that's a play that makes a good amount of sense for him. Just get rid of as many of these tiles as you can and address that spot. Rolls in the same spot, another option, LOGS, if you're not interested in opening a triple, but that opens up a number of front hooks. Though if you want to play more defensively, maybe none of the Quags plays are a play you want to make if you are Puneet. Victor has pulled WIT into his AEST leave, so that rather promising, but doesn't actually bingo for him with the way the board is shaped right now. Maybe a floating R would give him something like Wardiest, or the floating L for Waltiest, also an option, but we'll see what Puneet chooses to play. I don't expect him to give floaters in opportune places. Chat pointing out there's also Tawiest, Tawiest, Collins only 7 that I was not aware of. For those of you tuning into the stream just now, my name is Matt Canik. I play in the United States, and Collins is not my strong suit. I'm largely an NWL player, so I'm going to ask all tournament that y'all help me out with these Collins words that I may be missing. Help me spot them. Especially these high probability bingos and important hooks, help me do a better job doing commentary for this tournament. I'm awaiting word from what happened to Chris. He just seems to have dropped off. We were talking just fine until as soon as this game began. Surely everything's all right with Chris. I think there are just some connectivity issues in the playing room. Log rolls? No way. Log rolls would be a really cool 8 with an available O. We're going to try getting Chris back in. I'll be quiet for a minute, see if we can pick up any signal from him.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. All right. Welcome back, Chris.
Very good.
So you missed a lot of action. Were you able to follow along at least on the stream, or did we lose you completely?
Yeah, no, I was able to follow along.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you missed 2 bingos and a bingo score from Puneet. Puneet is averaging nearly 80 points per turn this game, which, bodes rather well for his chances of winning.
Yeah, he's really burst out of the gate on this one.
We'll see what kind of life Victor is able to pull, and if he gets a spot for the 7-letter Tawiest after Puneet's play. Puneet, I would aggravate over this turn as Puneet's doing LOLLS, a great equity play, but you would feel very bad if you took a game where you were up over 160, opened a triple, and got hit back with it. So I'm not seeing many other options. Perhaps he plays this with IFS. No, in Las Vegas, Puneet rolls the dice here. Actually, he lulls the dice here. He's not playing rolls. And he will not get burned. We know that at home. Taking a risk, but it's just so much better than the other plays. Chris, is that a play you would make, or would you play more conservatively with this lead?
I mean, that's the best equity play by such a margin. And if it comes down, Puneet still has a bit of a lead. If, say Victor does hit a triple for 140 or something. And L in that position is, reasonably safe. It's not like putting an E in the 7th position or something like that. So I think it's a reasonable thing to do at this point. And, Puneet will understand, like, Victor gets one shot at this L, he's going to block it next turn.
Yeah, Puneet got certainly to block it next turn, so maybe not the worst thing. And I think spread with the format of this tournament as well, only 8 games, the top 6 make it, so point spread and point differential could certainly be a factor if we see multiple players at 6-2, or perhaps we even see the highest spread at 5-3 sneak in. Lul's definitely going to help with your chances at racking up spread, as it's such a great equity play. Not seeing great options for Victor to counter at all. He's going to have to decide if he wants to keep this board open or if he's going to want to try to preserve some spread and douse the bleeding here. Maybe you can play ALEW through the last L in lulls. That way, if Puneet plays through the L, you might be able to bingo from the W and open this board up. Or maybe you just dump a W somewhere, try to keep your rack as bingo prone as possible. Anything standing out to you? How would you approach this deficit, Chris?
I would probably keep that L open if I possibly can. Puneet is almost certainly to block it next turn, but that's if there's a way to set something up elsewhere for an easy S hook lane and keep the L open, that's probably what I would be trying to do.
Yeah, I like in these situations, if I'm down by a ton and one triple's open, my favorite move is to open another triple, but that wasn't in the cards, not with the way this board is shaped and the rack that Victor had. And Puneet now.
Yeah, definitely.
CGIOOPR. He'll have a very nice blocking play of polio through the first L in lols, but that's tough to spot, especially with the CGP combination on Iraq. I'm looking to get rid of one of those, and polio holds the anti-synergistic CG together. So not easy to see, but would be a very solid play for Puneet here.
Yeah, I think polio is the standout play in this situation. It does all to do. It scores well. It blocks up the L, the triple lane with the L. It blocks the S hook on Watt that Victor just opened up. It checks all the boxes right here.
Yeah, in the absence of that, though, I think any play that does address that quadrant of the board, even something as pedestrian as Lipe, makes sense to do as well. You just want to knock that spot out, in my opinion. So we'll see what Puneet decides to do here. Again, spread a factor. Maybe he feels he's had a string of good luck and he wants to try to run with that good luck and rack up points, as his opponent has shown poor draws consistently this game. Or perhaps he does play the conservative play here. It looks like he's looking at Orgic, which would play with Buteo, and he is going to open this board up even further. But, you know, points at a premium here, point spread at a premium here, and Puneet going to leave the L alone, play Orgic, score 23 points, and go ahead 275 to 81 over Victor from Ghana.
Yeah, that's a reasonable play. Also, play more tiles rather than fewer. That pulls more tiles out of the bag and brings the end of the game closer, gives your opponent fewer turns. It's good thinking to make a longer play versus a shorter play.
And Victor has Ejits, Eejits, down from the E in Howlines for 60 points. That'd be great for him to open the board as well with that S out there. He finds another high-scoring play, Jaunties, here for 44 through the ON, nicely spotted as well. Those 60 would have been huge for him on this turn using those same tiles in a different spot. Puneet, ANOPRRU. And again, I think Puneet looking to maybe clog up this board, but definitely, as Chris said, try to play off some tiles here. Polar or Prolan both play through the L and lulls. Those would be great options again for him to start shutting this board down. I wonder how aggressive Puneet decides to be here, or how conservative he is with trying to block up that spot. I think Chris, again, with some connectivity issues. So once again, it'll just be me sitting on stream until we're able to get him back. But we'll talk through some of the other players in this field. I would not be surprised if we see Puneet end up taking one of those spots in the world. Dean Saldana has represented Team Canada multiple times before, and wouldn't be surprised him. Bob Lynn and Nick Ball, both Americans, are very strong players as well. And probably the strongest or favorite to progress from this field, Josh Sokol, coming off an NWL victory in the Scrabble Players Championship just 2 days ago, now trying to qualify for Worlds. I believe he didn't qualify because he hadn't played enough Collins games to be eligible. So he's looking to work his way out. Puneet actually defeated Josh in the first round in a small upset. So Josh now facing an uphill battle to qualify for the World Championship. Puneet does spot Polar, and he plays it. A very nice blocking play in RU is a reasonable leave. And we're back to Victor, who into AC pulls IOOYZ on his rack. So scoring opportunities, but if you're bingo, or if you're Victor, you're really looking to bingo as quickly as you can. We'll have some awesome scoring options though. Zoetia through the E in Jaunties, Zoecia is 54. Zocco, Zocco, through the C and Orgic is 56. And yet both of those words on the obscure side and longer with the C and a Z, tough words that maybe you haven't studied. Azoic also plays on top of Jaunties nicely, Azoic, and strings a C in a triple line, scoring 47 points, opening this board. I like that play quite a bit too. We'll see what Victor elects to do here. Looking at this field, I just want to talk about the strength of the Scrabble scene that we've seen grow in Africa over the last decade or decade and a half. So many Nigerian players, and as they showed us in the SPC, they are strong, they are good at this game, and they've flown all the way from Africa to Las Vegas for a reason. So Victor from Ghana, as well as many of the Nigerian players, putting on a clinic for us, and I'm excited to learn from them, see how they play a little bit differently. And of course, Wellington, the best of them all, won the SPC's Collins division after reverse sweeping David Elgar. He was down 2-0 and came back and won the last 3 in a best of 5 finals to take the whole shebang. Let's try Chris again, see if he's come back now.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yep. Yeah, we're having some Wi-Fi issues in this part of the suite of playing rooms. So if I cut out again, that's what's going on.
Gotcha. Thanks for letting us know. And that's part of the reason we're broadcasting this LC, to make sure we get all the kinks and bugs out so we can give you all the best possible commentary, best possible streaming experience for the World Scrabble Championship. But welcome back, Chris. Good to have you back. And Puneet, GNNOPRU. This game is sneaking further and further out of hand as Puneet continues his scoring onslaught. I talked about the growth of the Scrabble scene in Africa, Chris. What are some other hotbeds of Scrabble growth that we've seen, that you've seen in your time with WESPA?
So I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Scrabble growth around the world. It's very exciting. I was just talking about the strength of the African scene, and particularly the players from Nigeria. What are some other upcoming Scrabble hotbeds?
Yeah, it's really huge over there. It's coming from the U.S., where it's something that we put a lot. Those of us who care put a lot of time into it, but it is for pretty much all of us a hobby, right? We have something else that we do during the day to pay the bills. In Nigeria, Scrabble is enormous, and there's a lot of sponsorship. There's government support from the Ministry of Sport on down, and players can win serious money playing Scrabble, and it's a huge cultural thing that everybody plays, and they want to be like Wellington, who was the first African world champion, and is a very their best player in a large personage there. And so, yeah, and this also feeds into youth programs. They have great youth programs and lots of kids playing Scrabble in schools. And, around that part of Africa, it's an enormous thing. So, it's really great to see the growth of the game there. It's great to see the interest, and it's great to see the strength of players that are coming out. Like a lot of us who play internationally fairly regularly, there is a good number of players from Nigeria and Kenya and Ghana that we've seen regularly on the circuit and played against. But to an event like this, the Nigerians brought a large contingent and the Ghanans brought a large contingent. And so there's a lot of players that I haven't met before, I haven't played before, and they're all really good. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see over the next few days, and hopefully sit down across the board from a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know every player brings their own unique style to the game of Scrabble, but perhaps have you noticed that players from certain regions of the world, perhaps from Europe or Africa or Australia, is there sort of a tendency that players all kind of think along the same lines? And if so, what are some of those as we get ready for Worlds starting tomorrow?
So yeah, there's these cultures and these sort of strategic things build up. The mentors that are there have their own kind of ways of thinking about the game. And for the African players in particular, there was actually an article it might have been in the Wall Street Journal or something several years ago that talked about a lot of things around Scrabble in Nigeria. But one of the things that they had was, they're really big into like noticing the 5-letter words that can score a lot of points and block the board. And they have a reputation as being closed players, blocking the board, being concerned about restricting opportunities for the opponent. And in my experience playing some of the players from Africa, that happens, right? You're playing them and they get an early bingo and you're trying to catch up, and suddenly you realize there's no way to catch up because the board is so clogged up, and they're very good at doing that. So there are these things that pop up in terms of strategy in certain communities.
So it sounds like maybe an enhanced emphasis on tactics and board control from our Nigerian cohort here, as Victor gets a high-scoring ZOA. That's going to put him over 200 points, give some life back to this game. What about some other regions? Do you know about maybe Europe or Australia? Are there specific tendencies from the players in those areas?
Let's see. I know in Pakistan they have an amazing youth program going in Pakistan, and there's a good contingent from Pakistan at the tournament this weekend. It is like a core curriculum in schools, and culturally they have a large emphasis on education and making sure that you have all of your not just your schoolwork but your extracurriculars and all of these things that build together to a good package and get in a good university and get a good job. And it's very, very focused. Parents very much want to give their kids a leg up in that realm. And so in Pakistan, Scrabble is a huge way to learn English and learn math and learn strategy and all this stuff. So there are some young Pakistani players who are just incredible players at a very young age. In I think it was 2019, there was one of the Pakistani youths who was like 12 years old, finished 8th at the World Championship in Turkey in the United Kingdom. So yeah, they have this amazing program and a lot of really strong young players up and coming, and stylistically, they're solid players, but with a deep word knowledge, and they see a lot of things, and also they tend to play fast. Younger players, for whatever various reasons, developmental reasons, they tend to play faster. So kind of sort of being aware of that and knowing that they're I don't know if impatient is the wrong word, but that's another thing to be aware of. Just that especially when playing those younger players, they're strong players, great word knowledge. And some of them may try to fast play you and get you into trouble on time.
Yeah, it seems like almost every time I have a friend from North America who's playing an international tournament, they have an invariable post about like, I lost to a 14-year-old from Pakistan who scored 800 points on me, or 570 points on me or something. So it just seems like lots of points scored by those kids who seem to know a lot of words. I'm excited to see some of them here at this tournament. I am just so excited to get to broadcast every single round for this entire World Championship and learn words, learn strategies, learn styles from all the different players here. One large disappointment and sort of shocking is the absence of Nigel Richards as this tournament. Nigel, of course, a multi-time world champ and regarded by almost every single person in Scrabble as the greatest of all time. Do you have any insight as to why Nigel isn't here? And what do you think that does for the field, opening it up for others to contend?
So I've only heard sort of anecdotally, but he has played several tournaments in Malaysia and I think Singapore post-COVID. But from what I've heard, he's not traveling overseas post-pandemic yet for various reasons. I'm interested in talking to maybe some of the Malaysian or Singaporean players here to get sort of a better insight into when Nigel will start traveling and playing again. From the terms of the tournament itself, it does put the door wide open. It's too much to say that Nigel would be guaranteed one of the places in the finals on Wednesday, because there have certainly been stretches where he hasn't always made the finals, but he would have been a heavy favorite to make the finals on Wednesday if he were here. So there's a lot of good players here. Wellington is certainly on form after his victory at the SPC last week, so it's going to be really interesting to see. It's a lot more wide open than it would be if Nigel had made the trip, for sure.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Chris. If you had to pick one person to win this tournament, who would you lay your money on? A perfect excuse. Yeah, his internet goes out. A likely story, Chris. I believe you. Haha. No, we'll try to get the answer to that when Chris comes back. I imagine more connectivity issues. So I'll take the stream solo as Chris tries to get that remedied. I'll let you know as soon as we hear from it. But Chris, of course, himself has made it to the finals in this tournament, as well as have many of the other players here. Since I put Chris on the spot, I also have to put myself on the spot. It's only fair. My pick to win this tournament is Canadian Adam Logan. I got to watch a few of his games from the World Cup in Albany earlier this month. And I just, again, true to form, made several great tactical decisions and seemed to do it in just an impossibly small amount of time. So Adam, always a treat to watch. I do hope we get to stream quite a bit of him, but I'd love to see more from the cohort from Nigeria. Several Canadian players are very strong. Several American players very strong. Dave Wiegand, of course, always a threat to win the whole thing. Ben Schoenbrunn, who wasn't able to play the SPC due to flight difficulties in the field as well. So it'll be very interesting to see. But my pick, Adam Logan, perhaps not a controversial, but I feel like it's about time for another Adam Logan World Championship, right? All right, Puneet playing ace here out of this rack. It looks like pairings for round 4 have gone up as well, but Chris not quite back yet. So we'll continue our broadcast of this game. Puneet aced for 16 points, and Victor has just been stuck BVDU. Not much you can do with these tiles. You got to feel for the guy. He gets his shot on stream and drawn like this, but we'll see what he's able to do. There have been potential for neat extensions to polar. Earlier, Puneet sitting on non-polar, and now Victor has sub-polar available, holding the nice DIVA, but he's looking to clear up his rack. UVA, a very useful Collins word. We've seen it played already twice in 3 games here. Is that a Chris Lipe I hear? Are you back, Chris? Perhaps not. Okay. Well, we'll continue going here as Puneet, dropping many of his E's out of this rag. Heated is going to score quite nicely for him. And that's going to put him ahead 390 to 233. So Puneet with a big lead early and just kind of sitting on it, as Victor really unable to come back in this game. His draws just haven't been what he needs them to be. I wonder if he's going to try to make a play alongside Heated to the right, something like KID or BID. Those get punished very hard, especially with this nice, friendly, unseen pool. Let's get that on display. But anytime Retina is nearly in the unseen pool twice with a blank, you got to be intimidated about a big play coming back the other way. So Victor's going to dump KAID here, a nice way to set up his S. And once we get the unseen pool displayed, we'll see that that is the final S as well. I'm hearing from our production team, and just go ahead and assume Chris Lipe is gone for the rest of this game. They're going to try to reposition him in a different place so that he can have a better internet connection and stay with us. For those of you still tuned in, I just want to remind the format of this tournament. It is a 1-day 8-game tournament, and the top 6 players from the field will get entry to tomorrow's World Championship. Everybody else will have to play in a side event instead. We'll have 4 games before lunch. This is round 3, so 1 more after this, and then a lunch break. It'll be a rather brief lunch break, given that we've had some difficulty in the tournament, a long delay as we tried to get pairings fixed after a player entered slightly late. So one more game, lunch, a rather quick lunch break, and then we'll be back with more play at 5:30 Pacific time. 3:30 Pacific, 2:30 Pacific time, 5:30 Eastern time, I believe. If I get word that they extend the lunch break due to the difficulties, I'll convey that information as soon as I can. But Victor looks like he's going to have a nice play next turn in that S line he's set up. And Puneet's got to find points out of this rack. He can use that V to block off the rest of this board, or maybe he gets a little bit aggressive, tries to bingo one more time and pick up some more spread points. He's also got the nice Envier, Envier, from that blank E for 36 points. That'll address the cage line as well. It's a really good play for Puneet. Puneet getting dangerously low on time here. You know, his first 3 plays were rather no-brainers for him. He spotted all of them very quickly, initiates Flux and Howines, and then has spent a lot of time in the rest of this game trying to figure out how to approach these racks. We'll see if he hits a time penalty here. Hopefully he can avoid one. All right, going to use that V to thwart the setup. VIDE comes down, and Victor probably slightly disappointed that his play was thwarted, but if you can make your opponent make a big sacrifice like that, it's probably still worth it. Victor now counting the remaining tiles. There are 6 in the bag for him, so he's trying to figure out how many he wants to play here to maximize his spread in this game. But I think he knows at this point it'll be quite tough for him to win. So he's going to play BREW. There are 2 unseen E's to overlap that R with RE and hit a triple word square. Puneet sitting on one of them, but Puneet also with a fantastic rack, AEMNRT blank, looking for a big response play to that bruise. We have a number of bingos. Remnant and Moranti are the 2 big ones I see right away that would respond to bruise. But Victor picking it back up, he's going to play wired instead. I think a little bit more defensive of a play in terms of bingos, and probably a wise thing to do given the pool looks so nice from his perspective. AEMNRT blank for Puneet now. Will not be able to bingo after the more defensive play from Victor. Will still have some nice scoring opportunities, some really cool plays, back hooking PIU, making PIUM, and RETE, and taking advantage of the front hook to wired, which is a T, TWIRED. So Menta, MENTA, playing really filthily alongside all of that is 44 points. But Puneet probably going to use the rest of his clock trying to find a bingo here. I know that he doesn't have one. Perhaps also we could see him fish one, but on a board without very many bingo opportunities, I don't think we're going to see that happen. If you want to learn a word, there's also a cool play for Puneet. From his previous play of VIDE, he could just drop 2 tiles and make Videnda, VIDENDA. That'd be pretty cool. I'm sure half of you in chat knew that word already, but those of you watching down the road, a nice little anagram to invaded would be a fun play, although probably not Puneet's best option.
All right, testing. Can you hear me?
Yes, it sounds like we've got Chris back. I mean, we can hear you, Chris.
Yep, I have to speak quietly because I'm in the playing room right now. But yeah, hopefully this will work better.
Okay, yeah. Diagonally across the playing room, I hope, from the action, but we'll do our best not to give too many spoilers to these players.
Yeah.
So I put you on the spot and you conveniently cut out, Chris. But my question was if you had to pick one person right now as your favorite to win nationals, who would you pick and why?
Oh man, it's hard to pick just one person. Um, Obviously, Wellington is a good threat to win. He's just come off an amazing performance. Same thing with David Eldar, right? He put together a great tournament and very nearly won the SBC. Another another player to watch out for is Ben Schoenbrunn. He won a big tournament at the World Cup in Albany, New York, a month ago, and he was unable to make it to the SPC because of flight issues. But he's arrived in Las Vegas now and has had a great run of Scrabble over the last year or so, just really solid results. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him. Kind of a sentimental favorite and also a solid favorite is Dave Wiegand, who is probably one of the best players in the world, longest resumes in the world to have not made a final of Worlds yet. So, yeah, I definitely like to see Dave Wiegand do well.
Yeah,
I know I just named like 5 people.
Yeah, that's one way to answer the question is a good little non-answer there. Just pick all of the above. I like it. Yeah, no, certainly a lot of strong options. I picked Adam Logan as my pick, and one of a number of Canadians who are very good at this game. Obviously, we saw Josh Sokol just dominate an NWL field last week as well, so we'll see if he's able to make a run. Matthew O'Connor has been playing very well from the U.S. recently. Jason Keller, Josh Castellano, a number of players who this could be anybody's tournament. That's what makes this so exciting. Anybody could win, and I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
Yeah, and a couple others to keep an eye on is Rick Kennedy from from the Northern Ireland. He I played him at Malta, and he came in and just destroyed the field. Him and I were 1-2, and it's played just excellent Scrabble the whole time. So he's had some really good results recently. And Russell Honeybun from Australia has come over to play, and he's incredibly strong player. He lives all the way out in Perth, so might not get out as much as or be as well known as some of the other Australian players like Andrew Fisher or Noeen Fernando and David Eldar and those. But Russell is a great player, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him certainly cashing or threatening to make the final this week.
Yeah, it'll be very exciting to watch as all of this shakes out. I'm super excited to get to be on stream for all of it. We're going to take a brief break as we look at round 4 pairings, try to find a good matchup for everybody at home watching us. And when we get back, I also want to pick Chris's brain a little bit more about the team format and the country system that we have going on. But we will cut to a brief intermission. We'll be back in a few minutes with one more game of Scrabble. Until then, stay tuned. We'll be right back, y'all.